It's rank time. Hello friends, Real Share Gang, Tharries here, and welcome back to, of all things, a ranking video. I haven't done one of these in a while, and as such, we're going to start with the most original ranking possible. We're doing the Doctors, yay! It's not as if I haven't already done this list twice, or you know, literally every other person to make a Doctor Who video ever hasn't already done this video. Nope, this is a completely original concept, copyright Tharries Industries Corporate Association. No one else can make a ranking video from here on out, so nope, I'm sorry, if you try and do it, you will get copyright striked. So just don't. Ranking videos are mine now, only. You understand, Mr. Confused Adipose? Yeah, I saw your companion ranking. Don't think I'm not watching you. But before we get into today's ranking video, if you could just do me a teeny tiny little favour, and it really is teeny tiny, like you can zoom in on how tiny it is. Do me a tiny little favour, click that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 10k by the end of the year. We're not just going to do it by you not subscribing, are we? Come on, use your head. But with that said, let's get into my ranking. By the way, we're not counting like the fake Doctors, you know, we're talking our other actors to play other Doctors, our Richard Hurndalls and our David Bradleys. Although if we were counting David Bradley, he'd be number one, because he hates women.
Quite beautiful, really, isn't she?
Yeah. If you like, ladies made of glass.
Aren't all ladies made of glass, in a way?
Very good, sir, very good.
Anyway, speaking of women, number 15, we've got the 13th Doctor. Now, I've spoken in length about why I don't like the 13th Doctor, but to give you a short, abbreviated version, I gotta go in detail about this. Let's just say she lacks a lot of the elements that I like to see in a Doctor. She lacks that inherent spark that I feel like a Doctor needs. And that spark is difficult to quantify, but either you have it or you don't. And I just don't feel, I don't even know whether it's a writing thing or an acting thing. Personally, for me, I think it's probably a combination of those two things. But she just doesn't quite have that inherent energy that I think a Doctor needs. Like, she doesn't feel commanding to me. Like, I don't feel threatened by her when she's threatening aliens on top of, like, whatever it was, a crane or some shit. I feel like, oh, they're gonna laugh at you.
Who are you?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that again. Bit of adrenaline, dash of outrage, and a hint of panic knitted my brain back together. I know exactly who I am. I'm the Doctor. Sorting out fair play throughout the universe. Now please, get off this planet while you still have a choice.
I choose to win.
They're gonna laugh at you. 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 Sometimes they even do. But I just feel as though she lacks that commanding presence, and she lacks that real moral center, I guess. Like, I don't even really know what her morals are. I don't really know what her relationship to her companions are. I don't really know much of anything, really. I'm a dickhead. But what I do know is the 13th Doctor isn't that good. Yeah, I said it. I think what makes it worse for me is that she'll make these really, like, immoral decisions and the script will treat it like it's a fine thing to do. Like, you know, sabotages a non-white master's perception filter inside of Nazi Germany. You know, nice fun stuff like that. Oh, silly Doctor. Causing racism again. What can you do? Number 14, we have the Ruth Doctor. Now, the Ruth Doctor for me is like a massive improvement over the 13th Doctor to me. So imagine like the 13th Doctor is like the ground floor of the hotel, and Ruth Doctor's like the penthouse suite. That's the difference we're talking about. She's got that inherent spark, that commanding presence that I was missing in Jodie's Doctor. I even like her more superficial elements more than I like Jodie's. For example, I really love Ruth's TARDIS interior. I really love her costume. Two things that I can't stand about Jodie's incarnation. Get that out of here. It's disgusting. But yeah, Ruth is pretty good. The only reason I can't put her any higher is because we've only seen her for about 30 seconds, which is about as long as it takes me to have a But anyway, yeah, Ruth, pretty good. In 13th place, we have Mr. John Hurt. It's the War Doctor. Again, nothing inherently wrong with this incarnation. I feel like he's less interesting than the Ruth Doctor for me though, but like the only reason I rank him higher is just because we've seen more of him, like he's had a full story, plus audio adventures which I haven't listened to because, come on, I'm not a nerd. But yeah, the War Doctor, he's good. John Hurt's a great actor. But I do think that the Ruth Doctor has more potential as a Doctor than the War Doctor did, really, because he was kind of just created to fill a gap that arguably didn't need filling, and the BBC should have just let Paul McGann do it, but you know. But regardless, for doing that role, he's fine for what he is. But again, as I said, I feel like Ruth has more potential, she just needs more time on the television screen. In 12th place, we'll get into the controversial picks now, we have Mr. John Pertwee, hiya! The Third Doctor. Now, look, I know all of you people who grew up in the 70s, you love the Third Doctor, you're like, oh, shut up. I know it's you. I know you're watching. I know what you're about. Stop it. Anyway, I think the thing that I don't like about the Third Doctor is just sort of how commanding he is. She doesn't feel commanding to me. Like, I don't feel threatened by her. I don't really like his sort of patriarchal type nature. I kind of find it weird to have a Doctor who works for the establishment, but then he also hates the establishment at the same time, so there's an inherent contradiction there in terms of the Doctor's, like, morale. People will say that that's part of the appeal of the Third Doctor's character, but for me it just doesn't work. I find his relationship with his companions, like, one of the least enjoyable as well, like, particularly for me how he treats Jo, I just don't really like it. I think the thing that makes me realise how much I dislike the Third Doctor compared to his other classic counterparts is when they put him right next to the Patrick Troughton Doctor, or the Second Doctor, as most people know. But yeah, like, he is a vastly preferred Doctor for me, so having him side by side with Pertwee really made me go, yeah, I'm not a big fan of you. Not to say that he's bad, he's just not my cup of tea, even though I don't like tea, so he's not my cup of Dr. Pepper, I suppose, is my preferred beverage. But you know, we're not here to discuss drinks, we're here to discuss doctors like real men. In 11th place, we have good old Mr. the First Doctor, played by Mr. the First Doctor William Hartnell. Now, Mr. the First Doctor is a very good Doctor because he was the first one, and we all know that nothing can ever improve beyond its original conception. Just look at all the fetuses rolling around, they're loving it. What I will say is that I never really get the people who say this guy's their favourite. Like, I feel like the character evolves so much after William Hartnell that when people say he's their favourite, I'm like, fair enough, I guess, but I just feel like more is added once, you know, Troughton and Pertwee and Baker and etc. come along. With that said, he is good for what he is. He's obviously, you know, an early iteration of the character. He initially starts out quite crotchety, but slowly mellows over time. But, you know, some people think that's how he was the whole time, Stephen Moffat. Ha ha. He also wasn't sexist, despite David Bradley saying otherwise. But, yeah, this Doctor is just sort of fine, you know? I don't love him. I don't hate him. Like, the thing is, like, with most of these Doctors, even in the lower tiers, they're not bad. They're just not my cup of tea. Like, the First Doctor, as much as I enjoy some of his stories, like, I really enjoy Dark Invasion of Earth, for example, with Peter Cushing. Just kidding. He's just not one of my preferred Doctor, like, variants, I guess. One thing I do appreciate about the First Doctor, though, is that he's not afraid to be an arsehole at times, and I very much feel represented in that, being the biggest arsehole on YouTube right now. Yeah, I said it. I mean, am I wrong? Can you think of someone who's more of a twat than me? No, I didn't think so. Coming in at 5th place, it's the 5th Doctor. Sorry, I'm just a bit out of breath now. In all seriousness, the 5th Doctor, he's kind of the white bread of the classic Doctors, you know? And by the way, if you're typing in any comments to the effect of, well, what do you mean this person is my favourite? Bruh, calm down. Just, look, go outside. Just take a breather. Just go outside. Go on. Have you got that off your chest? Good. Carrying on, the 5th Doctor's pretty good, isn't he? Really? I mean, he's not that great, but his stories are pretty good. I quite like Resurrection. Earthshock is good, but it is a bit overrated in my opinion. Sorry, not sorry. Best thing it ever did, though, was kill off Adric. I mean, Jesus Christ, who thought that was a good idea? A bloody child on the TARDIS, ridiculous. What? The first companion was a child? No, they weren't. You're lying to yourself. Anyway, yeah, the 5th Doctor, he's fine. Celery's pretty good. Not as good as Leeks, though, in my opinion. I love my Leeks. But yeah, his, like, relationship with his companions, I feel like it suffers for a similar issue to the 13th Doctor, where there's just too many of them, and you don't really feel like he has a specific connection to any of them, at least to me. It kind of just feels like they hang around just because the plot is there, I guess. Yeah, the Fifth Doctor is just, he's okay. As I said in the intro to the Fifth Doctor, very much the white bread of classic Who Doctors. Coming in ninth place, we've got Peter Capaldi. Now listen, Capaldi stands. I know you're outside my house right now with your pitchforks, torches, knives, and anything else you carry around, despite your doctor preaching the idea of being kind, which you kind of don't take on board, but regardless. The 12th Doctor is fine. But let's be honest, he has some of the worst Doctor Who ever written. Series 9, prior to Series 11, was my least favourite series of the show ever. It was so bad it made me want to start walking again. And that's when you know I'm desperate. In all seriousness, it was the one to sort of make me feel like the show just wasn't for me anymore, and that's something no other series has done. No disrespect to Peter Capaldi, of course, he's a great actor, etc, blah, 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 blah. There are some good stories in his era, however. I quite enjoy Flatline, Mummy on the Orient Express, Into the Daleks, okay. What others are there? Series 10's overrated, fight me. But yeah, 12 is fine. But I think you lot need to stop getting so defensive over him. Oh yeah, Heaven Sent's overrated as well. Next, in 8th place, we have the 6th Doctor. Again, I feel like this one's gone up for me for one very simple reason. He's just a bit of an arsehole, and I kind of relate to that. I kind of like how he's just a bit of a dickhead. Now, people have said, oh, well, he's softer in the Big Finish. No, fuck that. I want my arsehole Doctor. I want him strangling people. That's what I value in Doctors. How much abuse they give their companions. That's what I value. Then again, 13 should probably be higher in that case because she ignored Graham's cancer. Anyway, yeah, the 6th Doctor, I think personally has some of the most underrated stories in like Classic Who, and is one of the most underrated eras of Classic Who. I know I say underrated and overrated a lot, and some people don't like that, but go fuck yourself. For example, Vengeance on Varos, Attack the Cybermen, which I prefer to Earthshock, Fight Me, I find it more fun. Revelation of the Daleks, and Mind Warp, and that's about it really, but they're good. Coming in at 7th place, we have the abandoned child of the Doctor Who universe, the 8th Doctor. I mean, that's not entirely fair. He was adopted by Big Finish, but you know, he's kind of that one that's like, oh yeah, you're here. You know, he's like that person at the family gatherings that does really well for himself, but was kind of rejected by the rest of the family. He's that kind of, you know, character. I mean, I really enjoy the 8th Doctor for what he is. I think he's even good in the movie. Like, he's the best part about the movie, probably. I really enjoy Paul McGann's performance. I really love the costume. I really love the TARDIS. There's a lot to love about this Doctor. Fortunately, you can't see a lot of it because it doesn't exist. If you want to listen to audios and be a nerd about it, then yeah, I guess that's fine. You do you, I suppose. But you know, don't expect me to sit there listening to Dark Eyes for 4 hours. In 6th place, we have the 10th Doctor, played by David 10-inch man penis. This guy is absolute Chad, you know, he got all the girls to go, oh, Doctor Who is sexy. Nah, but in all serious, big old David McDonald is pretty good, isn't he? Like, you know, we all give him a bit of shit for being all over Doctor Who at the minute, but realistically, if it weren't for him, you know, New Who probably wouldn't still be alive. It's kind of on life support as it is. And the 10th Doctor kind of acts as that, like, injection of morphine into the lifeless corpse that is the Doctor Who franchise. God, I really am just going all dark with the metaphors today. But yeah, he has some pretty good stories too, you know, you're talking my personal favourite, Turn Left, Midnight, basically all of Series 4 if we're being honest. And there's still some good ones even without that. Human Nature, I think the Series 3 finale is pretty slept on. Series 2's also there. With the Ood. Yeah, this 10th Doctor pretty good. Rose is a shitty person though. Martha deserves better and Donna is absolutely fantastic. Moving on. In 5th place we have, it's Troughton, it's the 2nd Doctor. Now I was briefly talking this man's praises in the 3rd Doctor segment. Editor, do a little flashback. And that's for good reason. This Doctor was the first classic Doctor I ever watched with the absolute And that's for good reason. This Doctor was the first classic Doctor I ever watched with the absolute classic that is Tomb of the Cybermen. There's like one major thing dragging this Doctor down for me is it's just that so much of his era is missing and the only way you can experience it is like this. And for me, yeah, it's just not my preferred method of watching Doctor Who if I'm honest. I will take that over audio, but it's just slight. But with that said, you know, as I said, second Doctor pretty great. Great dynamic with companions. Love Jamie. I think Victoria is okay, but I love his, like, dynamic with Victoria, where it's, like, sort of a mentorship type of thing. I love Zoe as well. Yeah, second Doctor, he's the second Doctor, you know, he's kind of the basis for the modern Doctors, really. Like, he's probably the one that most Doctors borrow off of, because Hartnell, he's the start, but I think the second Doctor is the one that really made the Doctor what he is considered to be now, really. And that's for good reason, because the second Doctor is an absolute Chad, who's had a lot of kids, which just proves that he's even more of a Chad. In fourth place, rather fittingly, it's Mr. Tom Baker, the fourth Doctor with his very deep, commanding voice, you see. Hello. Britain, 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 it's me, Tom. Yeah, the fourth Doctor, icon, scarf, canine, other stuff that exists. He's pretty great. I think a lot of his early stories are good. They do sort of slowly get worse for me as time progresses, but you know, we've got some absolute classics in there. Genesis, Pyramids of Mars, Robot, other ones, it's all great stuff, you know. 70s nostalgia is at its peak. Sarah Jane's there, and she comes back and she's great with David Tennant, but I didn't mention that earlier because she's not David Tennant's companion. She's the fourth Doctor's, well, she's also the third Doctor's as well, but who gives a damn about him, am I right? Am I right, audience? But yeah, fourth Doctor, pretty neat. In third place, we have depression incarnate in the form of the ninth Doctor. Now, the ninth Doctor, I think, again, he has that valuable aspect to me of, you know, the Doctor being an asshole. And, oh, before you say, well, actually, the 12th Doctor was with an asshole in Series 8. Well, they didn't stick to that, did they, Jimmy? They changed it in Series 9 to be something like, oh, I'm a rocker granddad, and I'm like Matt Smith but old, which means I'm shite. Sorry, Peter Capaldi. But yeah, the ninth Doctor's pretty good. Like, he only had one series, but he's great in all of it, and we're getting more Big Finish, which might be the only Big Finish I ever buy. I don't have many Big Finishes these days. With that aside, these episodes are stone cold classics. Like, there's only like one that I consider to be meh, and that's the long game, but the rest, brilliant. You know, we got the anti-child Doctor dances. Tharries.exe has stopped working. Rose, the Slitheen two-parter, Dalek, End of the World. Just absolute epicness all around. Parting of the Waysbound Wolf, probably the best new series finale. Although I do have a soft spot for some of the ones coming up. Get excited, ladies and gentlemen. Now I've gone out of breath. I've become like Peter Davison. I've become the very thing I swore to destroy. In second place, we have the 7th Doctor with Ace. Ace, somewhere the tea's getting cold, you piece of... Anyway, I got Sophie Aldred on this channel. How the hell did I do that? The 7th Doctor's pretty awesome. He's the one who's made, like, the most dramatic jump for me over time, because I just really, like, vibe with the style, the tone of his era. I really like how he kind of takes his role in the universe very seriously, but his role in the universe is still relatively small. It's that perfect balance between New Who treating him as if he's the Messiah, and Classic Who's tendency to treat him like, you know, just a guy who wanders around and sort of acts like a fool. It's the perfect balance between those two things, and I really dig it. As I sort of alluded to earlier, his, like, dynamic with Ace is really good, and I honestly think that even the weaker stories of this era, like Battlefield or Silver Nemesis, I quite enjoy. And Dragonfire as well, which is season 24, which, despite being probably the worst Classic Who season, or one of the worst, anyway, I mean, I don't know, I just regurgitate the opinions I see online. It's getting a Blu-ray release, which I will probably buy, because I'm an absolute virgin. But yeah, this guy's great. Go watch more of him. Remembrance is like Revolution if it was good. But now, the main event, the one you've all been waiting for. If any of you know me, you know this was coming. My sonic screwdriver is even fucking based on his sonic screwdriver. It's the 11th Doctor. Round of applause for Matt Smith, the best Doctor of all time, and if you disagree, you're wrong. Yeah, this guy, mwah. I just sort of picked my nose while doing the chef's kiss thing. This guy is phenomenal. Think about it. Think about it, right? He's young, has a bow tie, and is called Matt Smith. What more do you want? Now, but in all seriousness, I really love the vibe of this Doctor. He's kind of like the 21st century version of the Patrick Troughton Doctor, you know, he's that sort of bumbling fool, but then he can turn on a dime and it's really good. I really like the sort of old man trapped in a young man's body.
Oh, he's so quirky. He's an old man trapped in a young man's body.
No, shut up.
And yeah, I feel like this Doctor's slept on quite a bit. You know, I know that he says, an enigma squeezed into a skirt that's just a little bit too tight and does some dodgy things in the Crimson Horror. But I mean, the Nightmare in Silver thing, like, I'm sorry, but Clara is shown to be in love with him as well, okay? Have you not seen that, like, mini-sode where she's like, I fall in love a lot, sometimes twice a day? They are very clearly together. Okay, so it's not really weird when you look at it in that context. People say, well, it's not something you should say out loud. Well, to be fair, he is on his own in the context of the scene. I really think people overestimate how creepy that scene actually is when you think about it, because when you're with someone, you do sort of say things about their appearance, I suppose. Like, I don't know, I feel like you all just need to calm down. This list isn't meant to be like gospel. Actually, no, it is. This is the 12th commandment. Thou must take my list as the only valid one. But yeah, Matt Smith's my favourite, and if you don't like that, then you can fuck off. Alright, well thank you all for watching. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to leave it a like, comment down below your thoughts, and subscribe if you do. Thank you for watching, and I will see you